Casse-toi, casse-toi, casse-toi de là. Dégage ta putain de mère. Enfoiré. Mais mais non, mais putain, mais c'est illégal.
Prends ça.
Pour Anne. Pour Anne. Mais ta gueule avec ta Anne, ta gueule. Putain.
Allons-y vite.
Oui, c'est pas drôle ce qui est arrivé à ta sœur, mais à un moment, arrête.
Fais attention.
Ah, pour Anne, je vais tuer des gens. Ah, pour Anne, je vais brûler un pays. Ah, pour Anne, je vais manger un pélican. Mais tais-toi, putain. Ah! Je suis vivant. Oh oui, ça a marché. C'est trop beau. Oh yes, en plus je suis sur la route. Ouais, attends, celui-là il est beau hein. Mais ta gueule! Mais pourquoi il me fonce dessus? Mais putain! Mais c'est pas vrai! Pourquoi tu m'as foncé dessus, espèce de sac à merde? Mais du coup, j'ai plus le temps! Wow, attention, je suis en réaliste là. Oh. Mais casse-toi, putain! Tommy m'a tué! Bonsoir à tous, bonsoir à toutes, bienvenue sur Analogique, c'est BS Max qui vous parle, j'espère que vous allez bien. Aujourd'hui c'est normalement le dernier live sur The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, parce qu'il manquait un seul élément et c'était le making of, puisqu'on a terminé la version commentée avec les commentaires des développeurs récemment. Voilà. Bonsoir Letty qui est first, bonsoir Exta qui est Doz mais qui est sûrement plus là. C'est BS Max qui vous parle. Je sais, mais il se trouve qu'étant donné que... Alors, je vais donner deux raisons à cela. Premièrement, trois raisons. Premièrement, ça permet de distinguer BS Max d'Analogique. Deuxièmement, cette phrase, il se trouve que je l'ai dit dans ma toute première vidéo. Et troisièmement, un jour ici, à la place de Analogique BS Max, vous aurez, selon la personne qui live, peut-être Analogique Mini BS. Voilà. Je drop ça comme ça. C'est pas du tout comme si c'était... déjà imaginé, voilà. J'ai pas demandé ER d'expliquer. Oui, mais j'explique quand même. Bien, alors, les coulisses. Regardez, je suis fraîchement rasé, j'ai un coulisse. Donc, nous allons regarder ça, les coulisses de Last of Us Part 2. Alors, il y a marqué durer 2 heures, mais je me méfie parce que dans le premier, il y a marqué durer 1h50, ça dure 1h30. Mais bon, ça c'est quoi ? Ouais, ça je vais le regarder aussi, ça dure 4 minutes, en espérant que ça soit pas bloqué, mais on va espérer. La bande-annonce de révélation de The Last of Us Part 2 avec le premier aperçu d'Ellie et Joel dans sa suite. Je vais le regarder pour une raison précise. Si vous vous souvenez bien, dans la version commentée, à un moment il y a un chapitre où on retrouve un homme seul, on pense que ça va être Tommy, et en fait c'est Jesse. Sa chaîne devient un crew avec moi qui fasse des lives par intermittence. Non, je pensais pas pour toi. Par contre, je pensais clairement pour MiniBS, qui ne demande que ça, et je lui ai dit que je la laisserais peut-être essayer de faire ses premiers essais là-dessus à 15 ou 16 ans. Mais toi, t'en fais pas partie. Et un burger intégral, pas de tranche de pain. Ah, c'est fromage, tomate, steak, quoi. Clou, commentaire, Elias, Epic Mickey. Alors, et Letty, je viens de mettre à jour les playlists Epic Mickey et Life is Strange, donc au moins c'est bien rangé dans les playlists, tu les retrouveras. Mais on a fini la version commentée, donc je disais, dans la version commentaire, il disait qu'il y avait un truc, ils étaient... Il y a Jessie qu'on retrouve, et dans la bande-annonce d'origine, ils avaient mis Joël pour ne pas attirer l'attention là-dessus. Donc, je suis curieux de voir si c'est ça. Je précise aussi d'un petit truc, je suis en train de créer une vidéo, commentaire intégral, avec les noms des personnes qui parlent et la personne qui joue ou leur rôle dans le truc. Et il y aura une vidéo unique avec tous les commentaires chapitrés par chapitre du jeu. Voilà, je suis en train de la monter celle-là. Je sais pas quand je la publierai, sûrement pas tout de suite parce que je vais d'abord publier les guides. Mais elle sera faite un jour, voilà. Pas de tranche de pain, mais le couvre-tout est cuit avec tout. Et bah tu m'enverras une photo. On commence par cette bande-annonce. Alors attendez, commentaire désactivé, commentaire activé. Ah oui, activé, bien sûr. Let's go. Crème de cheddar, pas mal.
This was the first thing we ever shot, and we did this. Man, when did we do this? Back in 2014.
Ça fait 11 ans.
You had this before I came on.
Yeah. I love how this turned out, and like being at PSX Live when this aired, and people did not expect this. Is still one of like the career highlights as far as just how people lost their shit.
I will always, I don't know if you remember this, Ash, but we had to like sneak you in the back
Carrément.
because me being there.
Ah bah il y avait le logo des Lucioles alors qu'on le voit pas dans le jeu de cette façon-là, mais
They
Yeah.
exploded.
là
And
tu
it's not
comprends
that
que ça parle de The Last of Us.
And there's so many. Obviously, this moment is never in the game. But,
Graphiquement, il est plus beau aujourd'hui
there's a
qu'il
lot
l'était
of
là.
what's
Hein.
in the game is hinted at here, right? The idea of this PTSD. She has a hard time keeping her hand steady. That's a recurring theme in the game. Obviously,
Il pleut dehors, ça
guitar.
fait du bruit, je vais fermer la fenêtre. Mais je regarde ça déjà.
It's just insane details, Naughty Dog, of like the fingerprint, the bloody fingerprint on the tuner. That tattoo. Then people started getting this tattoo.
Sérieux,
before the
avant
game
même la
ever
sortie du
came
jeu.
out.
J'ai dit, je connais une streameuse qui a ce tatouage. Hein. Je l'ai vu
Worked a lot with
IRL.
Hand tech. I was just making sure like we could have these close-up shots of hands.
Good grief, I was so nervous.
Yeah.
Because we hadn't been on the stage in a while. And it was like, hey, sing a song, too.
Even in that tight shot though, of just your eyes.
Oui, c'est vrai.
You instantly see Ellie.
C'est vrai, je me souviens de cette image. Je l'avais vu.
But it was like this Ellie is more Ashley than the original
Yeah.
Ellie.
Yeah.
Cause I know I'll kill my enemies when they come.
No. Chills every time.
Every time it goes Joel.
Follow me.
Cette image de Joël là, elle ressemble à l'image qu'on a dans le générique
Right, we're like,
Yeah.
we're
de la
now in
série.
the next
C'est pas mal.
generation since this game came out, and it's still one of the best looking things.
Said I walk beside the still waters and they
Ouais, c'est Joël.
bore my soul.
John Sweeney, our art director, did a lot of like the shots here, concept art, to just nail down the exact details that we wanted of like showing this fight that happened in this house. And some of these ideas didn't make it into the final game. We actually toyed up quite a bit. I'm sure you remember, Hallie, of having Ghost Joel with Ellie throughout the adventure.
Ça, ils en ont parlé dans la version commentée.
What are you doing, kiddo?
And then just hearing your voice, people in the audience
Oh,
just went
You
crazy.
gonna go through with this?
Je l'ai vu ça, mais je l'ai vu il y a tellement longtemps. Par contre, je me souvenais de la Ellie de dos.
All this hair tech of just trying to get this haircut just perfect.
Ouais, la fameuse fenêtre.
I'm gonna find.
And you don't see a clear shot of her until the very, very end, right here.
C'est vrai.
Every last.
God, that was a really fun experience. Seeing, I think, for the first time how excited people were for the second one.
Premier
I think it
teaser
just
du jeu.
surprised me.
Ah, forcément que les gens étaient à fond.
And I remember just like you could feel people holding their breath, like, okay, what's going to be the subtitle, or like, how are they going to separate this? And it's like, Boom.
Voilà, part 2, tout simplement. Un jour, on aura peut-être un teaser comme ça avec un part 3. Qui sait? Ah, c'était marrant de le revoir. Bon, on va passer au vif du sujet, mais je voulais le revoir. Il est inclus dedans. C'était marrant d'avoir les petites anecdotes en plus. Donc ouais, donc je suis en train de me faire chier à monter la version où je ne garde que les commentaires, bien chapitrés et tout. Mais je suis sûr que c'est un truc qui peut intéresser des gens. Je trouve ça cool. Donc voilà. Il y aura, par contre, je pense que je publierai cette version-là, cette vidéo-là, que quand j'aurai fini de publier les guides, c'est-à-dire dans quelques mois quand même, à mon avis. Ça, je publie. Bon, elle n'est pas finie de monter, mais je veux dire, une fois qu'elle sera finie de monter, je pense que je la publierai quand. Par rapport aux vidéos que j'ai, ça va être genre avril-mai, tu vois. Mais enfin voilà, cette vidéo existera. Comme ça, si vous voulez voir ou revoir les commentaires audio du jeu, vous pourrez les voir à la suite sans vous taper tout. Par contre, je les fais que sur le 2 parce qu'ils sont sous-titrés en français. Sur le 1, étant donné que les sous-titres sont en anglais, avoir moi derrière qui traduit le truc, je pense que c'est pas fou. Donc voilà. Bref, allons-y. On commence les coulisses avec, tout simplement, un genre de making-of. C'est parti. Ah ouais. Oh cool. Bah voilà, ils sont dans cette version-là. C'est le studio où ils enregistrent? Non, c'est des bureaux. Où il n'y a pas de faux plafond.
Okay. Thank you all for what is about to be a very long presentation. So Anthony and I ran some numbers, and to our best guess, The Last of Us Part 2 is 10 to 30% longer than Last of Us Part 1.
Il est effectivement plus long.
However, this is the most detailed story presentation we've ever done. Like,
Ah, je viens de couper les scènes
if
d'alerte.
you think about the presentation for T1, where we kind of talk about the quarantine zone.
Ah,
in
T1,
somewhat
T2,
detail,
okay.
you know, most of it changed, and then it's like, and here are some things that might happen with Joel and Ellie. They might go into a spore-filled subway tunnel. They might fight some cannibals. At some point, Joel will get incapacitated. And Ellie, this has everything figured out, even though it might change.
D'après les commentaires audio, on sait qu'il y a quand même des trucs qui ont changé.
Twice as long as the first game. So when you freak out, that's normal. That's part of this.
C'est rassurant.
Oh, this is about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So hopefully you got your pee break. Okay. So we open on 15-year-old Ellie. This is a few weeks after the events of
Ok,
the
elle a
first
15 ans
game.
au début, ouais. Et 10 novembre dans le jeu. À un moment, j'avais dit 18, c'était une erreur.
There's a doorway leading down to this basement, and Ellie sees Tommy, and he's just finished climbing out of this basement, and he's hurt bad, and he's rambling about something needing to go after these people. Ellie's trying to ask him, what happened? Where's Joel? And he doesn't make any sense to her, and she starts to go downstairs. Tommy grabs her hand and tries to stop her, but he's too weak. She rips her arm away, and she heads down.
Déjà, ça, c'est différent. Hein.
Her heart races faster and faster as she sees this
Bon,
trail
après,
of blood.
j'imagine que c'est le script
She
de
opens
base.
the door, revealing Joel's mutilated body. And then shock just sets in, and she screams and tries to grab his body, and Dina comes and rips her away, and all in that cacophony of sounds, silence. Oh, we're just getting started.
Il n'y a pas besoin de suite. Besoin, non. Mais quand elle est réussie, pourquoi pas. C'est ce que je me dis pour un éventuel 3. En fait, j'ai tellement confiance dans leur qualité d'écriture que j'arrive pas à me dire que ça serait nul s'ils sortaient. Tu vois, il y a des suites de jeux aujourd'hui où je me dis, oula. Une suite de The Last of Us 2 par Naughty Dog, Je n'arrive pas
I've
à
been
me
working
dire que
on
ça serait
this
nul.
game since we finished. Well, really, we've been thinking about it since we finished The Last of Us.
So many people were like, Last of Us 1 is so perfect. It should never have a sequel. They shouldn't make a sequel.
They're like, oh, it wrapped up super great. But I think actually, if you look at the ending,
Swear to me that everything that you've said about the Fireflies is true.
Ellie is accepting a lie.
I swear.
Il pouvait s'arrêter là, tout comme le 2 peut s'arrêter
She
là,
has a very
mais il y a
good
toujours une porte.
bullshit detector. She knows something doesn't feel right, but I think is too scared at that point to ask.
How long can you really live with accepting a lie like that?
The Last of Us feels like an origin story for this survivor in this post-apocalyptic world. Seeing like how Ellie has become such a strong, unique character, it really felt like, you know, if we were to do a sequel, it'd be a shame for it not to focus on her.
C'est pour ça que sur un 3, je sais pas ce qu'il pourrait faire avec Ellie. Enfin, si, j'ai des idées, mais...
Once we're done with this whole thing, I'm gonna teach you how to play guitar. I reckon you'd really like that. What do you say, huh?
Joel, he's gonna teach Ellie to play guitar. That always felt like that's just this. Like,
ah ouais, bah il y en a des promesses non tenues à ce moment-là.
At the end of the first game, we did this thing called One Night Live, where we had the actors come on stage and reenact certain scenes.
Il est stylé ton truc, extra.
Fireflies. What happens next?
Marlene, she said that they have their own little quarantine zone, and that doctors are still trying to find.
J'adore voir ces scènes-là.
I wrote this
Les répètes
scene
là.
that takes place after the ending of The Last of Us, but it was only shown to people in the audience. Like we cut off the stream right before we showed them the scene.
If I ever were to lose you, I'd surely lose myself.
Mets-le sur bouffe en vrac.
Trying, sometimes you'll succeed.
Ah, c'est la scène où elle est sur le fauteuil, elle l'écoute.
This man of me, our future day, days of you and me. She's yours.
No, I don't know the first thing about this.
Hey, I promised you I'd teach you how to play.
That scene ends with Ellie holding the guitar and playing one note.
Le fameux toum.
And that image was so strong in my mind that I'm sure that kind of trickled into this idea of this trailer. So I started working on some concept art, kept fleshing out the story, and as it felt like it was kind of gaining momentum, Uncharted 4 needed all hands on deck.
Tout comme là, pour l'instant, ils sont sur leur
Naughty
truc
Dog always made one game, and as soon as it finishes one game,
dans
it
l'espace.
works on another. When I started on Uncharted 3, we were starting to experiment then with trying to do 2 teams. After we finished Uncharted 3, I jumped onto Uncharted 4. At some point in time, Uncharted 4 was coming down to the wire, and it's just, we had to shift resources, and pretty much everyone just ended up on Uncharted, trying to finish it up.
Ouais, pour aider à
So I
finir.
said, okay, before I come on like in full force on Uncharted 4, I just want to capture this trailer.
C'est génial quand tu vois le mocap comme ça. Il y a des stickers sur la guitare aussi, tu vois. La tenue de mocap. Pas que Ubisoft qui enchaîne les jeux. Ouais, bah ouais, en fait, je m'en fous si The Last of Us 3, s'il devait exister, sort 8-10 ans après le 2, s'il est bien. Et peut-être qu'il n'y aura jamais un 3. En fait, j'ai confiance en Naughty Dog, c'est pour ça que leur jeu sur l'espace là de base, il m'a pas hypé, mais que je me dis, je regarderai quand même parce que c'est Naughty Dog et qu'ils ont une qualité d'écriture.
That's all I could think about. I had a lot of investment in Uncharted 4, but the day we were done with Uncharted 4, went right back to that trailer to wrap it up. Anything for this shot that's still happening?
Not animation.
Of the shadow of death.
This one feels kind of strong to me.
Les détails.
Actually, my biggest fear with this announcement is that it leaks early. More than anything, I have nightmares about this trailer leaking early before we get to PSX.
Ouais, forcément, quand tu prépares une annonce comme ça, t'as peur que ça leak, quoi. Ça n'avait pas leaké. Oh, trop stylé. Le veilleur d'horizon.
PSX, the PlayStation Experience, hasn't set itself up yet as a place where big titles get revealed. That's
Ouais, c'était à l'E3. Maintenant, il n'y a plus de 3. Oh, la coque de téléphone NES.
We're revealing the Uncharted single-player content at the opening of the show.
You're late. I thought you were 50.
Ah oui, c'était The Lost
You
Legacy.
should relax. We'll live longer.
Et c'est juste après avoir balancé ça qu'ils ont mis le teaser de The Last of Us. Ah ouais. Je me souvenais plus de ça. J'avais dû voir les vidéos. Mais...
Sean Layden.
There's one more special unveil we have for you tonight. Please enjoy.
When we first revealed The Last of Us, the Naughty Dog logo
Merde, mais putain, tu fais chier.
came up and the crowd
Désolé, hein.
erupted and it was such a high.
Je vais bouger le joystick
that's
de temps en
almost
temps.
been like chasing the dragon, like wanting to recapture that feeling.
Ouais, le logo des Lucioles.
At this surprising moment, I'm hopeful it will have a similar feel.
Tous les streamers qui ont fait le react du machin, évidemment. Et eux dans la salle, bah ouais, forcément c'est grisant.
What are you doing, kiddo?
People outside the studio have such an attachment to the first game, and I've definitely seen fears about not wanting to make a sequel because somehow if it's bad, it will tarnish.
C'est vrai. Ils ont réussi à gagner la confiance des joueurs Naughty Dog, je trouve.
I'm gonna find. And I'm gonna kill. Every last one of them.
We're doubling down on those fears and not calling it The Last of Us some subtitle. It's
Parce que y a aucun Uncharted de raté.
It's all one story.
Ils ne font que s'améliorer, je trouve. The Last of Us 2, pareil, je comprends qu'on n'aime pas, mais le jeu n'est pas raté. Donc, c'est vrai que j'ai confiance en Naughty Dog maintenant. C'est ceux qui disent que le 2 est trop violent, on ne respecte pas et sans être loin. Il est beaucoup trop violent, enfin, il est pas beaucoup trop, il est beaucoup plus violent, il est beaucoup plus dur, mais je maintiens qu'il est très bien écrit et que ce n'est pas un jeu raté. C'est un jeu qui te remue, qui t'oblige à faire des trucs que t'as pas envie de faire, mais c'est un bon jeu. C'est un jeu réussi objectivement. Après qu'on n'aime pas, ça je peux comprendre.
Have enough weight that felt like, okay, this is an experience worth creating, worth spending the next 3 years on. I became really intrigued with the idea of the cycle of violence and how like certain events would trigger acts of violence that then would beget more acts of violence.
It's almost never satisfying. It never brings the person you love back. And despite you thinking it's going to bring some closure, it doesn't.
We just need more empathy. Wouldn't it be awesome if we could create an experience that lets you safely explore those feelings? With that theme, all of a sudden everything fell into place and this outline emerged. The whole catalyst for what starts the second game is Joel killing the doctor. That feeds right back in that idea of that cycle of violence.
Pour moi, il y a tellement de trucs sur la fin du 2
sequence of events. We're going to start the game
qu'il y aurait largement de quoi repartir
that
dessus.
sequence ends with this character killing Joel.
Maintenant, encore faut-il développer une belle histoire,
And we
bonne
really have
histoire
to
là-dessus.
paint her as this
Ça.
monster. Then when you play the next chunk of the game and you're Ellie and you're going to pursue justice, quote unquote, and you're going to go kill this entire crew, we're going to go back in time and show you that same sequence of events. This character that you saw as a monster to now get you to see things from her perspective. And how this crew is a bunch of people trying to survive in this world. And they have their reasons for pursuing and finding Joel and killing him. And the story was becoming very epic and ambitious. And I had a few parts that I was kind of stuck on. And I felt like to kind of shake things up, I wanted to bring in another writer.
I thought it was a very thoughtful story about violence and obsession. He had Abby, sort of like this girl who was the daughter of the doctor.
Ouais, je suis d'accord avec ça.
And that Ellie would go on this vengeance quest.
C'est des gens qui voulaient une Ellie moins...
And when he was like, and then Ellie actually kills Abby, I was like, what? You're gonna... Yeah, let's fucking do it.
moins violente.
She's contributing in a lot of ways. I feel like she's
Ils ont cassé un peu leur personnage, mais c'est pas mal.
She's wanted to add more romantic intimacy between the characters. Those are areas that I've been, I don't know, more uncomfortable writing that stuff. After the first day, she was telling me that she went home and told her husband that I think I just got Ellie's girlfriend pregnant. Because that was her big idea the first day, and that had this trickle-on effect and actually added a lot to the story.
Ellie is this very relatable character. I thought she was a perfect vehicle to challenge this notion that violence doesn't have a cost, because it does have a cost in reality. It's going to ruin this girl.
Là, ils détruisent le personnage qu'on a appris à aimer dans le 1, mais pas d'une manière irréaliste.
Joel and Ellie, and we are about to kill one and make the other one a villain.
I was very nervous telling Troy we're going to kill off Joel. In the first game, he was advocating that Joel should die.
Dans le premier, il voulait.
When I read the ending to part 1, I was like, you're going to piss a lot of people off.
Let me go.
Marlene is the closest thing to a parent that Ellie has had outside.
Il y en a plein qui n'ont pas aimé la fin du 1. Il y en a plein qui n'aiment pas le 2, j'en suis convaincu.
A lot of people got hurt, and Marlene would be one of those people.
Joel has crossed these moral lines, and therefore he deserves to die, and he thought it might be a more dramatic ending. And I was like, no, you're crazy. Like, but then in the second game, that's why I was like, thought like, oh, he would take it pretty easily.
He goes, so Joel dies, and he's like, so this happens, and then and I literally had to stop. And I was like, can you give me just a second? Because it literally was as if someone was telling me about how my friend had just died.
I think he kind of took it hard. It was like the character meant so much to him.
Et tu voulais qu'il meure avant. Mais après, oui, tu t'habitues à un personnage, je pense. Faire si violent et juste qu'elle vienne petit à petit. Ouais, c'est pas faux. Ouais. Elle pourrait l'être moins.
Please don't take this from me yet.
Elle passe des limites.
Scared to be alone. Everybody that she's loved up until that point, she's lost them.
It's hard to imagine the story without Joel dying. Like, you feel that hate, Ellie feels that hate. You're one-to-one, you're on the stick.
Bon
and
appétit.
that informs the rest of the story.
This way, come on!
You okay?
Yeah.
We get you through interactivity to really connect and empathize with this character.
C'est ça.
Don't act like you heard of us or something.
And then make you feel like I've led Joel to a trap.
Et tu dois le jouer. Mais c'est ça qui est fort.
When we started out making Last of Us Part 2, Neil actually wanted to be very ambitious about changing the game almost entirely. In the first like 4 or 5 months, the game was actually kind of an open world, inspired by.
Je sais pas si j'aimerais un The Last of Us en monde ouvert. S'il le proposait, peut-être que je dirais ah c'est cool en fait. Mais là comme ça, je l'imagine pas. Hein. Peut-être qu'ils...
Purely melee focus, like it was all hand-to-hand combat.
Ah ouais, ils avaient prévu un truc... Peut-être que dans leur nouveau jeu spatial, ce sera un monde ouvert. Et qu'ils vont le faire là-dessus, justement.
Bloodborne had a very sort of an open space that sort of kept getting bigger and bigger as you explored. I really like that feeling that you get of mastery.
Je suis pas
over
du
the
tout
world.
un défenseur du monde ouvert à tout prix.
It starts to become kind of almost a character in the game itself.
Si on avait dû jouer avec Joël, ça aurait été chaud.
And so that was also something we were looking
Déjà
at.
quand on doit jouer Abby qui tape Ellie,
We
c'est pas
started
évident.
out making it as different as humanly possible from the first game as we could, and then kind of dialing it back. The open world thing didn't work with the story that we were trying to tell. And
C'est pour ça, c'est une histoire.
So in pre-production, we spent a lot of time just doing setups. Self-contained sort of units.
C'est génial de voir les ébauches là.
A single sort of idea. Trying to start out with sort of simple shapes and building up to more complex shapes. And starting out with one or two mechanics and building up to those mechanics.
Hey! Even our experiments, we try to add like as much context as we can. Like we establish a goal that you're going to be going for. We establish beats so that there's like an emotional journey. The stakes are raised.
Oh, il a jamais vu déplacer un réverbère.
Some traversal stuff. A lot of climbing and balance beams.
Ah, ça on a vu par contre.
Seeing how far we can sort of push in that direction.
Ouais, Uncharted
without
c'est
it getting over the top like Uncharted.
C'est des gags, c'est exagéré. Ah, ça fait bizarre, mais c'est marrant parce que justement, tu vois comment c'était dans les prémices. C'est ça que je trouve cool aussi. De montrer ce qu'on voit pas.
I do design. I know. How long have you been doing that? A day. I got an opportunity to work in QA, and that was a great learning experience. I shipped The Last of Us and Uncharted 4.
The thing I'm proudest of is the people who came in to a quality assurance job as a contractor, which is entry-level work, and used that job to get to where they ultimately wanted to be.
When I interviewed for the QA position, I specifically said that my goal was to be a designer.
He had formed this relationship with design where they knew they could rely on him, spending his free time designing a demo, and at the same time, him going to them and not being like, here's 50 bugs you need to fix. He went to them and was like, what do you need? How do I help you? What kind of bugs do you need? And for their part, they embraced him and were like, why don't we show you how to lay out nav mesh?
I am anxious to prove myself. There is no babying when you start. It just hits the ground running. If I don't cut it, I go back to QA or find something else. We're trying to figure out at the moment.
Les espaces sont beaucoup plus grands dans le 2, en revanche, ça c'est clair.
Bigger than the first game.
The enemies are so like too spread out to be really considered like one single small encounter. And seeing what behaviors we need to start developing for them to make it look good.
The opening of Seattle, that whole section was pretty slow and quite linear in the design.
Pardon.
Let's assume that there's guys in this building, someone's starting to shoot at me from the second floor. So, okay, if I'm on the horse and I'm getting shot at, I can't take cover with the horse, so probably first thing I'm going to do is jump off. And that's slow and clumsy, and maybe we can make that faster. It's like, but once I jump off, I'm going to want to take cover behind something. It's like, okay, I'm taking cover. Now what the fuck do I do with this horse?
Faut répondre à toutes les questions.
I assume the enemies are going to shoot at it. If they don't, that's kind of weird.
C'est vrai.
Does Dina ride off with the horse to help it stay safe?
Ah, faut réfléchir à tout.
I'm trying to build a relationship with Dina, and if my partner leaves me, that makes me like her less. That's okay, so Dina has to get off the horse and take cover with me and help me engage with the enemies. Okay, but the horse is still there, so what happens with this horse?
Eh bah oui.
Does it ride off on its own in order to like protect itself and then come back after? Oh, that feels too intelligent for a horse. That seems a little funny. As soon as there's range combat, the horse kind of makes it fall apart. What if we did this whole sequence on foot? How do I approach this building? Imagine this is more dense with cars and ferns and interesting ways for me to close this distance. Maybe when I get close enough, two militia guys come out. I have this little firefight with this front before I could rush forward and go into this building, climb up, and take out the sharpshooter that was harassing me.
Il faut se poser toutes les questions dans chaque zone que tu designes.
And that really inspired us to take some pretty drastic changes as far as the flow, inserting more combat, opening up the layout to give the player more options as far as how they explore the city.
You can imagine this as being kind of the hub with it poking into streets, and I could go into the streets and
ça, c'est la grande zone de Seattle.
Those locations, what we're kind of calling
centre-ville.
dungeons. So that's the plan. Some of these changes are big, but it got us excited. This feels like a true evolution of T1 as far as going more systemic and giving you options.
If there's concern, it's about scale, it's about scope, it's about can we actually build this thing?
The scope is always bigger than the last game. It always has been. It always will be, probably. But this scope on this game is something pretty extraordinary.
Dans les Assassin's Creed, ça devient trop grand et trop long.
The thing we're building is going to be cool. Once it's done, it's just that it's such a big game.
Our games have become more and more ambitious, and the studio has gotten a lot bigger.
When I started here, we were 40 people.
Ah
Now we're
ouais.
over 300. You can't handle that many people with a flat hierarchy. As we grew, we've had to introduce new titles just to control management, control communication, make sure things don't fall through the cracks.
We have no producers at Naughty Dog.
There's so many talented people here that you can rely on and lean on. It
Heureusement
makes
qu'il y a
the
encore
game
des
better,
studios
and
comme
that's
ça.
really kind of the
Où c'est pas
secret
grave
sauce
s'ils
of
mettent des
Naughty
années à
Dog
développer,
is how collaborative
mais c'est
it
bien.
is.
You find the right people who really want to do the best
si
they
tout
can possibly
devient,
do, and you kind of give them the resources to
pré-généré
try.
à sortir
You're
tous les
getting
ans.
what you asked for as a creative person, right? You're
Je
kind
crois
of
que le
getting the
public
freedom
est en train de se
go as
lasser
far
de
as you
ça.
can go, but
Moi le
sometimes
premier.
I think we need to be saved from ourselves a little bit.
With The Last of Us 2, there's a real sense of opportunity. This is going to be a much cleaner production than we've done in the past. We're going to get it right this time.
This is the first project that has had the proper pre-production period where we have locked down, for the most part, the story beginning, middle, and end before we started production. That hasn't happened. I don't know if that has ever happened, now that I think about it.
It's a very, very messy process, which is, again, why it's a lot of times really difficult to schedule. I think right now we are planning on springtime of 2018. So when springtime 2018 comes around, The Last of Us 2 isn't in stores, you can look back at this and say,
Je sais même
well, I
plus
guess
quand il est
their
sorti
plan
en vrai.
wasn't
Donc,
exactly set in stone.
Historically, we've done very poorly at being efficient without the pressure of an external deadline.
Raté, il est sorti en juin 2020. 2 ans plus tard.
Gotta be one of the best looking playing things in the industry. For example, the first trailer was coming online, and that forced us to define the look of our game, define the location of where the game takes place, define Ellie's look and her age and her hair and her outfit. We're forced to make those choices. We can't just keep iterating because there's a deadline.
We want to try and schedule the game using these milestones as soon as possible.
Which means we got to keep the marketing rolling, which means next E3, 6 months away.
Release 2018, ouais. Donc il est sorti 2 ans après.
The biggest and most extravagant showing of the
À l'époque, ouais.
There's something special about
J'espérais y aller un jour.
We need to figure out the gameplay.
On va y aller
Because
jamais.
right now it's just we've got a bunch of like cool prototypes and stuff like that, so it's scary. But we work well under pressure.
We're hoping to be really aggressive and show at E3 2017 just to really kick the project into gear as fast as humanly possible.
We want to break it up into a roughly 2-minute cinematic, a flashback sequence that will set kind of emotional context for what will then go into a 5-minute gameplay sequence. We want to do this festival within Jackson. Like there'll be like a live band and we're just seeing people lively having fun.
C'est la scène coupée.
For the crowd, are you thinking 30 plus people?
Frank says we could do a 30 variation. I think we can make that work with 30.
Yeah.
Dina pulls Ellie onto the dance floor. Ellie's dancing with her, is making all these guys jealous. And
Piste
then
de
Dina
dance.
says, "You want to make them really jealous?" And she leans over and kisses her. And on that, we do a hard cut to Ellie in the middle of the woods. So the idea is we shouldn't see any buildings, just woods, water, ankle-deep water rushing underneath her.
What about rain? Are we still doing rain?
I haven't discussed it with the other guy.
Il pleut presque les 3 jours à Seattle.
That
donc,
we show externally for the very first time is setting the bar for the rest of development. But the problem is we're also working on Uncharted 4 Lost Legacy.
So E3 is June 13th, which means probably we want to be done, what, like 2 weeks before that, which is 4.5 months from now.
With Lost Legacy shipping at around the same time of E3, there are shared resources between the two projects.
Les deux à la fois, ça doit pas être le plus
Sound
évident.
and particle effects, so they were all on Uncharted.
When it comes to the polish phase, both we're polishing this and that thing and SPDLC at the same time. I don't think there's any specific item that needs to be worked on, but
Oui, puisqu'à la base, Lost Legacy était un DLC du 4. Et finalement, c'est sorti en truc à part.
We kind of just didn't have it at the forefront of our minds that, yeah, they're frickin' shipping a video game. It's literally the hardest part of making the game is shipping it. And we were trying to ship a demo, the second hardest thing you can do, at the same time and sharing a lot of their resources.
So one thing would be helpful is to find out what are the items that you feel like you're most worried about. Like, let's say rain. We could do this thing without rain. So if that helps you a ton, we can make the decision now to remove rain.
On sait qu'ils ne l'ont pas fait. Ah si, pour la démo peut-être.
well, if she's going swimming, then we can get around that, right?
What about no swimming?
Puts on a cap.
On lui met un bonnet de bain.
I got like a really clear energy of the meeting, which was how do we shrink it? It was such an impossible task. You can't help but start feeling some doubt, some anxiety about the leadership, not understanding the logic of it. You know, I think like anybody else here, I was definitely ready to roll up my sleeves and figure it out.
Alright guys, we're going to try to keep this pretty short, I guess. So after yesterday's meeting, there were a lot of side conversations and there was sort of a sentiment about how much work there was to get not only this demo done to ship Lost Legacy, and it matched up with feelings that we were having, so we started discussing the responsibility of actually attempting this and started to feel that it was a little bit irresponsible. That if we were to try to meet both these deadlines, we could probably do it, but we would end up doing a lesser job on both projects, both deadlines, than we would if we were doing them individually, and feels like they're both important enough to give them the due attention. So the conclusion that definitely is there is that the demo that was discussed yesterday will not be presented at E3.
Sacrée décision.
Does it mean that our main point should be just focusing on more shipping before?
Lost Legacy?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, but I mean, we should still try to, we don't, like I said, just want to just completely halt work on this and, you know, all hands on deck on Lost Legacy.
The idea is still to finish the demo just to give us a buffer so that these two deadlines aren't overlapping. It's just now we have more time to work on this demo properly without the pressure.
Once that meeting happened, it was
Je pense
just like,
quand même
right,
que pas mal
of
de
course.
boîtes auraient
I'm not
pas
in the
fait ça,
Twilight
ils seraient
Zone.
dit il faut.
It makes sense not to do this. It felt really nice seeing the leadership kind of having the teams back and seeing the logic of the situation.
C'est mieux quand même.
That's it.
Mais je pense que c'est pas une décision simple dans ce contexte.
Okay, so are you pissed off?
Am I pissed off? No. What am I? I guess in one sense it's relieved because there was concern of whether we could hit the quality that we know we need to hit for both Lost Legacies and for what was going to be our E3 demo. And then on the other hand, it's kind of disappointing because I was excited to get this
demo done and get it out there and get the reaction. But now it's going to have to happen at some other point.
What we've decided to do is deliver the demo at around the same time, but that's going to be purely internal, and the demo won't be 100% shippable. Gameplay and design and animation are going to be locked in June. Then like we back off, we finish Lost Legacy, and then resources free up to finish the particle effects, the lighting, and the sound. And then we ship just the glossiest, best looking demo you've ever seen. We burn that to a disc at the beginning of January, and then we don't touch it again. And nobody sees it until E3. It's going to be really interesting to see if we can really commit to being done. You know,
et voilà pourquoi à cette époque, pendant le 3, à ce moment-là, il n'y avait rien eu sur The Last of Us 2.
Tempted to say like, it could be a little better. Let's go back. And we really just need to have the discipline not to do that.
But that then left us as like, okay, what's our next marketing beat? What are we going to show next from this game?
So now we have a new plan where we're going to release a cinematic around PSX time. I think we're going to do it at the Paris Game Show.
This seemed like a pretty intriguing scene to introduce Abby.
C'est vrai qu'il y avait Abby a été révélée au
is going to be our next marketing beat. And
à la Paris
we're not
Games
gonna
Week.
say much about it, about how this fits into the game, where it fits into the game.
Et donc dans les commentaires audio, si je me souviens bien, les gens pensaient au début que c'était la mère d'Ellie qu'on voyait.
Over time, and if you look at the concept art, like the character looked very different than where we've ended up. I don't remember at what point we decided to go with someone like really kind of muscular and broad, but I remember once the idea came up, it felt very fresh.
Once we sort of nailed down the body of Abby, we played around with different ideas of how we wanted to accentuate her arms or not.
And there's something interesting in Abby
Il y a ça
feeling
dans
a
les
lot like
artworks.
Joel.
So when I got cast, Neil was like joking around and he's like, you should probably beef up in order to play her. And I'm like, ha ha ha, yeah, it's mocap, whatever. And he goes, no, really, you should probably beef up to play her. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. I should totally start deadlifting as much as possible. So I did, and I was training like crazy, and then I got pregnant. What are you gonna do?
We need to separate her from Ellie. It shouldn't feel like I'm playing a reskinned Ellie, that Abby should in many ways look, behave, fight.
C'est vrai, et c'est réussi. Tu sens que c'est différent.
So in gameplay we've discussed, well, she needs to have different upgrade trees. It means we have to make the investment of capturing a whole different moveset for Abby. We can't just remap Ellie's animation onto Abby.
Ouais, sinon ça se verrait trop. Ouais.
Holy fuck.
Abby has a fear of height. There's stuff we're doing with the camera to make you feel vertigo. And that helps build empathy. It makes this character real.
Il faut qu'ils aient des faiblesses.
And you wasted it.
She's aesthetically a very intriguing and iconic and powerful character.
Abby, who are these kids? They saved my life. Can you take a look at her?
Once she's killed Joel, what is Abby's motivation? What is she trying to achieve? Her redemption is really taking care of Yara and Lev, these two kids that are from a warring faction.
You know, she has been taught to hate them. There is an inherent xenophobic reaction to them. It's about saying, can you come to love your enemy?
Scars built all this?
Seraphites.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
These are kids that grew up in a very different context as Ellie, and you know how they live their lives and experience the world is totally different.
J'aime bien les gens qui se rassemblaient dans
I'm getting really
l'église.
attached to Lev. He's been able to keep his head up despite losing
Péter
so
un
much
cap,
himself
Sacha.
in a world that is so harsh. We're taking too long.
Can't move any faster. We won't do your sister any good if we're both dead.
I really like his dynamic with Abby. Her having this, like, fucking brassy little sidekick who calls her on her shit in a way that nobody else can.
What's going on between you and your friend Owen?
Oh my god, Lev, now?
It seemed really awkward.
Just go!
Who understands the sort of sense of being orphaned in the way that a lot of people can't.
How long have you two been on the run for?
2 days.
What the hell did you do?
I shaved my head.
They want to kill a little boy because he shaved his head.
I am not trans, so it's a very delicate thing to tell a story of an experience that I have not had. And that's something that we want to take seriously.
Did you hear what they called me?
Yeah.
Do you want to ask me about it?
Mon chat est fou.
Do you want me to ask you about it?
No.
Okay.
It's really about trying to create a multifaceted character who is trans, and that is absolutely an important part of who he is, but also a part of who he is.
Ah, excellent, les mocap. Bienvenue, Wonderboy.
As far as the Paris cutscene, I'm pretty stressed out.
C'est celle avec Abby.
We have 13
Je
days,
lag.
less than 2 weeks to finish this thing, and there are still some big ticket items. Lost Legacy turned out to be a much bigger project than we originally envisioned, but now that it's done, everyone is now on board.
Et c'est pour ça qu'il est sorti en standalone.
We've got the greenlight demo done.
She's putting on quite the show.
It's very real. We're in full production now, so I guess that's the short of it, is we're in full production now.
C'est là où ils ont montré Joël à la place de Jesse pour mettre une fausse piste justement.
Wow, what a great way to open Paris Games Week. Let's have the first in-depth look at a much anticipated and exclusive title.
Bah oui,
Last of
calme-toi.
Us 2.
Last of Us 2. Please, please, please be Last of Us 2.
Our fans, they want to know every last thing about what's going to be in this game.
Is this The Last of Us?
Neil has taken the way, he kind of creates an arc or like this sense of drama, this kind of sense of mystery or like dramatic tension, and crazily has brought it to marketing.
I view marketing as part of the game. It's very calculated what we put out there and how we want you to connect different marketing assets. When we first released the teaser trailer, too many people right off the bat said Joel is dead.
Bah oui.
The blown out light really fucked us in a way I don't think any of us saw coming.
We actually underestimated our audience a little bit. They're so sophisticated now, so you have to get
Voilà.
more
C'est
sophisticated.
là où
How
justement
am I
ils
still
ont
gonna
triché.
surprise players and viewers.
J'ai
Start on
débloqué ça.
characters you've never seen before in a world that like could be The Last of Us, could be anything. That creates like a really, really cool sense of tension.
At no point are we going to market that you play as this other character.
What is this? Yo, that looks good though.
I was so excited about working on it and I couldn't say anything.
Bah oui.
It was so rough.
Oh, is she gonna cut a baby out of her belly?
And then Uncharted 4, you find a comic book that shows Ellie's mom pregnant. So people already have theories that The Last of Us Part 2 is going to have Ellie's mom.
C'est comme ça qu'ils ont
we just
cru.
kind of black out the letters. She has the same number of letters as Anna, Ellie's mom's name. We'll get people to think this is Ellie's mom.
Oh my god. Girl's got a good... That hammer's from the Outbreak poster.
So we had that poster with the forearm of a character you've never seen before, with this like kind of wolf's head in the background. What does that mean? Kind of like prompting this mystery.
You want people to feel like they've figured everything out and then have the story surprise them.
God of War
This is The
4
Last
c'est au
of Us
chat.
2, bro. I'm gonna go crazy. Oh my god. Last of Us 2?
Là tu vois un petit peu d'affecté
Everything
juste.
that we put out there is shaping expectation, and then the final game, hopefully, if we do our job right, should subvert those expectations in an interesting way.
Si le jeu est bien fait, ça balaye tout ce que les gens pensaient. Voilà.
We knew we were pushing boundaries with that cinematic. We are making a violent game. We're not going to shy away from how violent it is. It is part of what we're trying to say. And I thought it was a great discussion initially about what is the appropriate level of violence. When is something so violent that it just turns you off where you just don't want to experience it at all? I like that they were wrestling with those things. I didn't like some of the insinuations about the trailer being misogynistic towards the female characters.
I don't think this story ever glorifies violence against women. There's no bias.
Elle glorifie pas la violence tout
It just
court.
so happens that the two protagonists of this
Au contraire,
story are
ils vont trop
female,
loin avec tous.
And therefore, that's what you're going to see the most of.
There has to be fail states in video games, which means a character has to be capable of being hurt. So does that mean that there can be no female protagonists in video games? Because that feels super sexist to me. And
De toute façon,
frankly,
tout est
like,
prétexte à débat
women
maintenant.
are the
Même à
victims of
l'époque.
violence, and don't we want to see women fucking fight back once in a while?
That character, her hand getting hurt, it has consequences for hours of gameplay to come.
One article even like asked the question, were any women involved in the making of this? And it's like, yeah, the co-writer, the lead character designer, the lead character artist, all the actresses that worked on that scene.
C'est des gens qui ont même pas vu le teaser du 1, ça. Enfin, pas le teaser, mais making of le genre.
Here's what I hate about that article. I'm sorry. Do a modicum of fucking research. Just a modicum. Just a modicum of research. Just like a little bit before you put something out there to suggest
C'est du
that
putaclic.
no woman
Il y a
could have
toujours eu.
worked on this because of the level of violence, because there was violence against women, because it is a video
Non,
game.
voilà, jamais.
Is so fucking sexist. I like watching graphic violence. Does that make me less female? Like, I like having a conversation about what power is. Does that make me less fucking female? I like working at a
C'est des
video
faux
game.
débats,
I
ça.
like playing
Ça-
video games. Does that make
ça
me
a
less
toujours été
fucking
ridicule.
female? Like, suck a dick. Don't put that in. I can't. I can't.
Raté.
I was gonna say put it in, but don't. I also don't represent all women, but I represent, like, I can represent this and say, I fucking wrote this. I wrote this. Like, I literally wrote the sentence, and then Yara eviscerates eviscerates his esophagus from his throat. I wrote that sentence. That is in the script, and I fucking stand by it.
Tu sens que ça la gonfle.
I'm afraid of being turned into a token rather than the truth, which is like, we're being thoughtful about the female narrative.
Bah,
These
tous les
characters
persos sont
are
bien
more
écrits,
than
de toute façon.
just their vaginas. If you want to have a serious debate about feminism and feminism in video games and female depiction of violence, and you need to not see it as a binary conversation. It is an incredibly nuanced conversation. You cannot make blatant statements.
Je suis
and you
d'accord.
cannot make presumptions. Fucking do your homework. I'm right here. I'm tweeting.
The tone of the violence in the game has always been important to portray as realistically as possible.
Our job outside of just drawing up concepts is really pushing our reference pipeline to make sure that the character artists are getting the most realistic examples of whatever they're working on. We can't find certain things, so we make the reference ourselves.
Ah, excellent.
Simulating brain on.
On simule un cerveau sur un mur, c'est quoi cette phrase?
How does that drip fall down?
What does canvas look
Ah,
like
c'est
when it's
dégueulasse,
soaked in
mais
blood?
bon. Il faut, hein.
Splashing blood on them, dripping blood on them.
Nice. We put down some wet mud, pooled blood onto it to see how blood would react to a wet.
Ils ont
dirt
travaillé le
surface.
truc, hein. Rien à
There's
dire.
like little pieces of grass and like twigs and things that carry through. Like there's actually movement following the edge.
One of the animators got a piece of lamb and we stuck it in Yara's shirt sleeve and hit it with a hammer.
Here we go.
Ah, et pour voir le rebond de la peau et tout.
Yeah, we have to break.
Et pour voir si ça
She's
cassait.
gonna need to hold this as straight, because if she does this, it's gonna, you know, just the weight of it's gonna want to make it fold. So trying to keep it as straight as possible.
This past week's shoot was specific for
Cette phrase, putain. Il a filmé des infectés qui mangeaient des jugulaires.
Concept that was done with like blood running down the mouth, but it's like, would that happen? Like, let's find out.
Mange ta gelée.
On the ground and pretended to eat away at like a bloody soaked rag that we made.
C'est ingrat comme taf, mais tu dois le faire. C'est ce qui fait que c'est réaliste.
Surprising results because like most of my face got covered in blood.
Ouais, il s'attendait pas à autant. Hein.
Yeah. Teeth. People here will go to that length of trying to make sure that things feel as real as possible. Yeah, we do a lot of
Le
crazy
souci
stuff
du
here.
détail, tu vois.
Nobody gets hurt, but it's really hard to see these characters that you spend so much time with and, for lack of a better word, kind of like, you know, birthing into existence, tortured and abused.
Donc ils vont pas parler du remplacement de Jessie par Joël en fait. Peut-être là. Bon, ils en ont parlé dans les commentaires déjà. Mais j'aurais bien aimé avoir un repoint de vue dessus. Putain, trop bien la version avec les costumes de mocap.
Which is like the catalyst to opening of the game. This scene has all of Abby's crew. It's a complicated scene because it's the most actors we've ever had in a single shot.
Qui est un plan séquence en plus, on l'a appris dans la version commentée. Jusqu'au club de golf, c'est un plan séquence. Là, ils ont pas les mocaps, donc c'est de la répète.
Joel doesn't
Just me out.
Now that you got that.
Hold on, sorry, yeah. The minor line
So
change.
then what happens is
Tout petit. Bah voilà, on devient tous amis.
Knowing what was going to happen and knowing how it was going to happen, I got very fearful.
There's so much weight to this scene. This scene has to be right. It's really difficult to reshoot it if we need to. Within the first game, having to call Troy and Hannah back to reshoot Sarah's
Ouais,
death
ils en avaient
was
parlé
very,
de ça.
very, very difficult for me.
The
Ça a
last
été
time I tried
dur.
to do a big emotional scene,
Ils s'y sont repris le lendemain encore.
Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, please, God, no. Oh, God, no.
that didn't go too well, and we had to reshoot it. Don't do this to me, baby.
En plus, tu dois te mettre dans le personnage. Je pense que c'est épuisant de jouer une émotion forte comme ça.
How the hell am I going to play this? Like, how are we going to do this? I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I have the chops. Am I going to put Laura through this? Because I know how hard it's going to be on her.
Audio, camera, rolling.
Take one, Mark.
Action.
Joel Miller.
Who are you?
Guess.
Why don't you just get out whatever speech you rehearsed?
Get this over with.
La VO de Joël est très bien.
You don't get to rush this.
At the end, I really loved what he brought to it.
I couldn't wait to get back into Ellie's shoes again because it's where, weirdly, I feel most comfortable in a lot of ways because it feels like a character that feels the most like me that I've ever played.
Va pas aussi loin
A
qu'elle.
little disturbing. I mean, minus like.
Voilà, sans tous les meurtres.
So it sounds like a bit of step forward, like you're about to like lunge and shoot.
Yes.
The biggest change that has happened since the initial pitch is Ellie is there when Joel is killed. It used to be she came across the body.
Ah ouais.
She had to rely on Tommy's testimony.
Ah, donc c'était ça qu'on avait au tout début de ce qu'il racontait.
Much more dramatic and
Elle descendait, elle le voyait. Là, elle le voit en direct. Oui, c'est plus impactant pour elle. C'est plus traumatisant.
The hardest part for me was looking over at Ashley.
No! No!
Knowing that Troy was gonna not be a part of it as much was really
Putain, comment ils jouent bien, tous.
And knowing that Joel was not gonna be in Ellie's life anymore, it was hard. So much of that day kind of feels like a blur, because there were so many feelings involved in it.
What I had to do, I felt was very, very little. There's one reaction, and beyond that, we're on Ashley. There was no acting. There was pure, raw emotion. I'm staring in the face of that.
Joel! Why are you doing this? Get the fuck off me!
I'd lost a little bit of my voice. I couldn't scream like as loud as I wanted to, you know, to get that frustration and that sadness out.
Ashley was behind, crying, and God. And knowing Abby was taking this away from her.
Bah ouais, parce que
was very difficult.
il joue bien, t'es dedans, c'est waouh.
And so I was crying when we were filming that scene. Yes, it was very emotional. You won't know, right?
End it. Now.
Wait, please stop! No! No! Joel! Joel! No!
We want him to die in this
C'est réussi.
unforgiving sort of way. Like, it needs to feel senseless for you to say, fuck these people, I'm gonna pursue them to the ends of the earth and make them pay.
Putain, même voir cette scène avec les tenues de mocap, ça me fout un truc. Hein. Parce qu'ils jouent tous incroyablement bien.
If the scene doesn't work with what we captured on the stage, almost nothing we do in post is gonna make it work. Joe will take a pass at the scene. I'll give kind of high-level notes.
But he's doing it without animated cameras, without character models, without environment. And so it's a bit of a guessing game to see if this will work.
Ouais, c'est dingue, hein.
Concept, I felt like there was a lot of repetition and it felt long. Once like Joel's head gets smashed, I don't want a close-up look of him.
Okay.
You know, what if we could do like the smash from the back of his head?
Yeah, I'd want
So
it.
just like you.
Ça, c'est de la mise en scène.
You see like a silhouette change.
Mais c'est de la mise en scène après à refilmer, c'est ça qui est ouf. C'est que
Like I don't see the details.
le jeu vidéo, le motion capture permet de faire
Comes
ça.
down and it's just like she's screaming. I feel like we could just take all.
C'est ça, on est dans la tête d'Ellie et
And again, we're trying to build more rage than
on entend juste un
sadness to
sifflement.
set up our journey.
Okay.
I'll come back and there'll be another version of the scene.
Okay, play.
Joel, fucking get up! Please stop! Please don't pursue. Joel, please no!
C'est la version qui a été gardée. Avec ouais.
Overall, it's fucking awesome. Like I got
Avec quelques
emotional
ajustements.
just part where before he gets killed, it feels so fucking tense.
There certainly is still a ton to do. We still have like 45 scenes that haven't even been looked at yet. It's terrifying given our deadline. The process right now is just getting Neil. We just need to get Neil into the room.
Which one are we showing first? We've got essentially 3 versions. The one that I did, and this would work with what we're talking about doing with the scene, and then...
Close one.
I would probably say
People standing
this, yours, Mel, or
I got bad news.
Meliora's is this.
He's canceling?
He's canceled.
But we had the cameras set. He's supposed to come in. He's the
Actually, it's good we're getting this on camera.
This is what it's not about. This is what it's about.
Yeah, he has some Melee stuff to review today. He said let's pick it up tomorrow.
So yeah, that's what happens. And so it's like, okay, all right, that's fine. I don't care. I don't care. Yeah.
C'est pas évident, il peut pas être partout, c'est logique. Même pour l'actrice jolie, elle doit être dur à jouer. Mais c'est clair, tu vois qu'elle se défonce.
I get called up to Neil's office one day.
Ils donnent tout les acteurs. Ils sont bons.
And there's like an empty seat. And Neil just goes like, oh, just sit down. I'm like, oh my God, I did something wrong. And he's like, do you know why you're here? And I'm like, no, are we gonna talk about one of my levels? And he laughs and he goes like, no, you're gonna work on the E3 demo. It's always been a dream of mine, working on an E3 demo, seeing it on stage. Is this a joke?
À l'époque, le 3, c'était tellement
So speaking of E3 demo,
puissant.
Way back when, like you guys said you were going to block that content and then not touch it. How's that go?
Well, and then we ship just the glossiest, best-looking demo you've ever seen. We burn that to a disc at the beginning of January, and then we don't touch it again, and nobody sees it until E3. Well, I think we knew at the time that we weren't going to not touch it. It's going to be really interesting to see if we can really commit to being done and not be tempted to say like, it could be a little better. Let's go back.
Évidemment, ils ont
the game's been making progress for the
ouais, mais ça c'est logique.
Since we locked that demo down. A lot of advances have been made, a lot of new ideas, new mechanics, and we really just need to have the discipline not to do that. Honestly, it feels like we are addicted to being late.
Comme moi quand je veux caler le maximum de trucs avant de partir à un rendez-vous.
Okay, we're starting. I don't know exactly what we're gonna do today, other than come up with a really long list. We're trying to limit it to an hour, so we'll be done at 4 no matter where we're
3 heures plus tard.
Looking at the cinematics first. Because we did it so early and had like a rough version of it a year in advance, we got a bit complacent.
Ah, c'est pas fini. Ah ouais, il y a un petit problème avec le modèle 3D de Dina, non?
Where are we on getting physics on these strands? So for next time? For next time?
Yes.
We didn't scramble to figure out what it is we're going to show. We had the structure of like the festival going into this fight in the woods in Seattle. But it was harder to build the momentum we usually have. And I think that panic just wakes everybody up, and felt like it took us a bit longer to get there this time.
So then you go in as if to kill this guy, see somebody over there. Oh, breaks 50% of the time, but use your imagination.
Yeah, going a bit slower, consume time.
Okay.
The animation is breaking the melee system.
Okay.
So, like, when he starts. Yeah.
So I'm confident in
Tous ces détails à peaufiner.
I'll be frank, it's not looking great.
Alright, this is totally broken. For next week, let's make sure it's all there so we could actually review it.
Yep.
Okay, thanks everyone.
I feel like this demo is cursed.
Donc ils ont réussi à sortir ou pas? Parce que je me souviens plus. Ah, déjà visuellement là, c'est propre.
Version of our original Greenlight demo. But I had to make it fully playable and shippable.
Ah, l'interface est pas du tout la même en bas à droite.
Basically take that space made by another level designer and put just enemies in it and start fighting. But when I started playing it, I remember like it wasn't there. That parking structure was way smaller, so it felt more cramped.
God is good.
God is good.
I remember going to Neil's office and being like, how much can I change this? And he's like, well, what are you thinking? I'm like, well, I'm thinking like this big thing, and I'm like, just like brand new designer, I'm just throwing out like everything, like I want to do this, and I want to do that, I want to make sure that it feels like a sandbox, that it feels like this big space, that it's multiple paths, it's like something like we really haven't done before in The Last of Us. And he just goes, go for it, well, let's do it.
We picked a location in Seattle that essentially is probably the hardest lighting scenario we would have to pull off in the game. I wanted to get the overcast look nailed because so much of the game's dependent on that. How do we pull off this look? Can we pull off this look?
Everything felt a little muted, and we were losing kind of that next-gen quality of our engine.
Like for a second, we actually turned the sun on in the demo.
Histoire de dire, hey, il
We
est là.
lost the mood of that overcast kind of blue look.
That moment was really rough for me. Just felt like years of my life that potentially would have just been like wasted on this pipe dream of a look.
Well, we were struggling, like last summer, it was like a fine balancing act.
Is this whole thing just gonna crumble? Like, is the whole direction like now gonna have to change for the game, not just this demo?
Vache,
Have
t'imagines
I
le bordel.
steered this company wrong?
Took some really big iterations and tried some crazy ideas, and we came up with kind of a hack.
We talked with the programmers and found a few settings that actually gave us exactly what we wanted. It was really like one thing.
We faked the sunlight within this kind of ambient look so we could get some directionality of the lighting.
That it was like, oh, if we do this one thing, it actually got us the look we
Et
wanted.
voilà, solution trouvée.
So like, I'm glad that happened.
Salut Chocolatine, l'homme pour qui on est déjà en été si j'en juge par ta partie de Grimoire.
There was a major push to make a new volumetric fog system. It's not just like a kind of an overlay on top of the screen. That's why it's called volumetric. You feel the volume of it. It's going to be a little bit thicker near the ground, right? Because there, you know, you will see grass kind of getting through it.
Ouais, dans cette séquence, tu le vois bien.
Fog also allows you to see the light. Fog adds atmosphere. Atmosphere brings everything together. Now with this game, we did add recently some new tech that allows us to make some of the water drips more dynamic, meaning that if you have a car, you will see a water follow.
C'est vrai que c'est magnifique ce genre de détail.
From the bumper, you're gonna start seeing
Tu le remarques pas parce que
so
c'est
that was
normal
really
dans la vraie vie.
And then we can now actually
Sauf que
also
c'est
use this technology
hyper
to drive
propre.
blood. Now we can have blood dripping and we have water dripping. The water trail can pick up where is it bloody. And if it's bloody, it can change its own color
ouf,
and start dripping more red. And on top of it, we also clear out the blood. So
Ouais,
what
dans
you
les
will see
flaques,
is you
on les
will
voit.
see bloody area.
Il y a des
You will
flaques
see
de sang à un
water
moment dans le
trails
jeu et
going
tu le
down,
vois ça.
And you will see the water trails washing out the blood and picking up the redness.
C'est
and going
ouf
down.
ce niveau de détail.
Really, really cool.
Moi je me souviens de Ellie qui a une larme qui tombe sur son suite et tu vois la zone mouillée de la larme dessus. Je me souviens de ça. Je m'étais dit c'est ultra propre.
Animation upgrades we wanted to add to this project was motion matching. The way that it works is it takes a pool of animation data and it picks the most appropriate clip to blend together and create just very fluid and organic movement. We want these characters to just feel grounded and believable in the world, properly shifting their weight and moving the way a real human would.
Ouais. Les demi-tours avec la tête pas encore retournée. Tous ces détails.
In order to capture all of those on the stage, we use something called a dance card, a choreographed set of patterns that the actor can move on the floor.
Basically, that's creating this like bank of little pieces of animation. The motion matching system just pulls from that bank all the animations necessary to have them move perfectly in any arbitrary way. When it works, it's like so far and away better than any other animation technique. It's like a quantum leap of the highest order in terms of quality.
Ouais, ça permet un enchaînement hyper fluide.
Any one mechanic is not maybe anything you haven't seen before. It's the combination of how it all comes together, the way it works with the animation system.
The new stuff we're talking about is like, oh, you can be in grass.
She went into the grass.
Alors tu vas voir le mouvement des herbes.
Like one of the biggest things we do in the demo is jump a gap.
Luma. Ah oui, j'allais dire c'est
Like,
merci la
oh,
boutique.
crap, you can jump, you know, like it's like, but it's new to our game.
We have to have the best
C'est vrai.
prone mechanic of all time. Yeah, no one's ever seen when I aim in prone and she actually like rolls up on her back and aims like this. Like it can never clip through geometry. Being able to rotate 360 in all directions. It can never like do a janky thing when she's reloading while doing it or aiming in water. There's like an IK thing that will like lift her chest and head up, and then it gets too deep. Now we're in a special prone underwater moveset thing.
Bah ouais, c'est plein de paramètres dont on se rend pas compte en jouant, on se rend juste compte que c'est propre, que c'est clean, mais tu vois tous les détails.
And it's because we like
Voilà, c'est ça.
There's no such thing as like, oh, you know, it's not as good as, you know, this other game's one, but like, it's fine. It's gotta be like, no, it's fucking Naughty Dog. We have to have the best version of the thing, whatever that is.
On ne remarque pas les détails, on remarque l'absence de détails. Et pourtant, là, des détails, il y en a.
E3 overall was amazing. The press conference was in a very different venue. They usually have them in like these big auditoriums. And this was kind of like, almost like a pop-up.
It was more like a theme park idea, but it's like in a parking lot, in a tent, in Los Angeles, at downtown.
Ouais, c'est la scène du début, ça.
They built the whole crazy church thing, which was pretty rad. It was super cool. It was better than we expected.
And you could feel like the tension of people trying to figure out what is this press conference, what's going on, what game are they going to show here.
Oh, il y avait des t-shirts de Last of Us 2. Donc...
On the Naughty Dog logo, you get this big cheer. On the Ellie reveal, you get this big cheer.
Ouais, parce qu'on dirait le même endroit avec les lumières et tout. C'est marrant. Je pensais qu'il l'avait reproduit volontairement.
Constructed and planned like meticulously for really a year now, hit the way we wanted it to hit.
Maybe they're jealous of you. I'm just a girl, not a threat. I think they should be terrified of me.
Les petits détails du nez qui s'écrase, tout ça. Ok, c'était ça la démo, c'est tu passes de là à là. Alors bah c'est efficace parce que ça change de thème. Hein.
One of the biggest reactions was when the HUD came on.
Eh bah oui, parce que là, du coup, tu sais que c'est séquence de gameplay.
Thought, there's no way it can look this good. Like, that's impossible. But when we flash the HUD and be like, yeah, that's it. This is the real game. People are not ready for this. Like, this is gonna fuck you up.
Ça, les gens veulent voir des séquences de gameplay hein, dans les présentations. C'est bien amené.
It was electric. My skin was like tingling the whole time.
Like as soon as it's done playing, I'm like on my phone.
And it was wild. It was wild to see it just everywhere. See it on YouTube, see people commenting on it.
Le bisou a vraiment fait parler, ouais.
It was a really special moment. I shipped something, like, as a level designer.
Ouais, tu dois être fier.
There
Légitimement.
was such a reaction to the animation fidelity. Holy crap, this is the best looking animation I've ever seen. Are you kidding me?
We're on the forums, going through the messages, seeing how much people think it's amazing. Someone's like, sort of cynically, that our stuff was fake.
Forcément.
I guess it's kind of a compliment to the animation team for like someone to say it's fake when they're working so hard. And right away I responded, I was like, don't respond, don't do anything, like it's
Ouais, non, faut pas.
not professional.
I was also a little anxious about it because
Les gens verront en vrai
it's a
que
little fake, you know?
que ça va.
Fake is an interesting word. There's an argument that he's right.
It's not the final polished game. You can't just play this demo in any way. You have to play it in this very specific way. But before we even show the demo, it's like, let's not put anything in there we feel like we can't do.
There was no
C'est ce
thing
qu'il
of
faut
like, we don't know
faire.
how we're going to do that. It was just, we
Sinon, ça fait une
literally
Watch Dogs.
just don't have it systemic yet. You know, like systemically, a guy pulling you out from underneath a car, we didn't have that hooked up yet.
C'est pas systématique dans le jeu. Ça m'est arrivé.
Now we have it hooked up in the game.
Ah si, s'il te voit par contre, peut-être, oui. S'il te voit, peut-être.
Ultimately, as
Ça
we're
va, il
building
vise aussi
our
bien que moi,
games,
ça me rassure.
anything feels like it's not the right call for the game, we don't mind changing it. Like we had certain things in the demo for the first Last of Us where like Joel picks up a pistol and takes out individual bullets from it and then pockets it. And like we could have done that, it just took too long. So for gameplay purposes, we cut that
Ça,
out.
je me souviens
I
absolument
was
pas de
talking to
ça.
other animators and they were like, yeah, man, they think it's fake. They have no idea. Like, it's awesome.
The same animators who made this demo are going to make the final game, so like I don't know what you're talking
En
about.
même temps, le premier The Last of Us m'a
They were
intéressé
confident,
qu'après sa
which I'm
sortie.
glad.
We
Puisqu'au début, je pensais que c'était
knew
un
what
jeu
we
de
were
zombies.
doing, and we knew how special it was. It was a little bit of a microphone drop to the industry, and for many it was inspirational, and they were excited to be able to add some of those details to their games and their future games, and for some of them it absolutely freaked them out to see this might be the new bar that's expected for other games to follow.
Bah, c'est vrai que c'est quand même aujourd'hui une très bonne référence de
Oh shit, like they're fucking calling us out.
d'animation
It's like,
et
we have to
de
deliver this.
fidélité graphique sur de certains éléments.
Like we always
Je
were
trouve.
gonna, but now it's like people have called us out, so we have to do a full body throw animation when you pick up a bottle and you're running, and not just a partial animation because that guy fucking called us out.
The real challenge is making the whole game look as good as this one controlled situation.
We come out of E3 and hopefully we've set the standard for this, what the rest of the game needs to feel like.
When you already know exactly what you're supposed to do in the game, you've memorized everything, it's hard to have a true experience with it. You have to bring in people from the outside to play it fresh.
C'est vrai que ça doit pas être pareil. Le buste de claqueur dans les couloirs.
And
Logique.
so we try to start playtesting as early as possible.
Et qui est sélectionné
We've got
pour les
testers in bright
playtests?
and early. They're going to start
C'est
playing
des
the game.
testeurs professionnels
They're
qui sont
actually just
recrutés,
right across
ok.
the hall over here.
It is a fire drill. Because things have to work.
Ah, un crash, dis donc.
So I'm currently watching the 10 people that we have in at the moment focus testing. We've got all of their screens up, so I can kind of watch all of them at the same time, generally keep track of any kind of recurring patterns or how long people generally take in certain areas.
They do things we haven't thought of. And
Ouais,
it really
ça,
shows
c'est
us where
sûr,
our
ça.
holes are. It's like, maybe I should change this. Maybe I should try that.
This player's pretty lost, trying to figure out this puzzle here, and they're trying to jump on a truck
He's got a really awesome solution here where he's putting this plank on a dumpster and now he's moving the dumpster around. So we'll probably have to go in there and like try and fix some of that stuff up, but we'd rather figure that out now.
Bah ouais, c'est cool,
in 6
justement.
months.
For things like puzzles like this one, that although they're figuring out the puzzle, they're actually not doing it in the kind of order that I'd like. What would be better is if they came into the space and realised, okay, that's the thing I need to be like climbing up to or getting to, and then they can kind of work backwards from there and go, well, if I need to get there, how do I get up? Oh, I can get up on this thing.
Ça, je trouve ça super intéressant. Ça, j'aime
It's quite
beaucoup.
heartbreaking when you see people who are like really confused or don't get it, and it's something you think like it should be obvious, but it's not at all. But it's good data.
We've had a few people on the team that have been really passionate about making our games even more accessible for people with different kinds of disabilities. And
Les
making
options
sure as many people as
d'accessibilité qu'il y a dans le
possible
jeu,
can
ça c'est
experience our game.
vraiment génial.
Accessibility is something that like really touches a lot of people. As we get older, pretty much all of us are going to have probably some sort of accessibility need.
It's important to welcome people with disabilities into all of our public spaces, into our shared culture. And
Ça,
video
ouais.
games are a rich
Ça se fait de
part of
plus en
that.
plus et il faudrait qu'ils soient
I
tous
love
comme
this,
ça.
that you don't have to have like a 2-button feature to keep her crouched down. This is awesome. I love that.
Brandon Cole, he said, I heard you announce this game. What do you think about the possibility of someone like myself being able to play it? And Brandon is blind. I hadn't really thought about that before.
C'est pour ça qu'il y a de l'audio description. Parce qu'il y a un mode audio description dans le jeu.
If you click on the L3 button, it turns the screen and the character towards your next objective. So you're able to sort of instantly sort of flip.
It was very much inspired by the talk you gave last time you were here.
I figured.
Hopefully
That's a beautiful thing.
We had this feature that let you navigate along the golden path. And we also had this other feature, you could like put out this sonar pulse and you'd hear where all the items and enemies were located. But Brandon was playing that and it was like, this navigation feature is great, but I don't want to just follow the golden path. I want to navigate to other things. It kind of occurred to us like, oh, we can combine these two features. We can let you scan for items and then navigate to that item.
This gives you more room if you do it this way for different types of sounds for different types of items.
C'est génial.
Yeah, different sound for ammo, different sound for
C'est
parts,
vraiment
different
génial.
sound for explosive, different sound for keys. Or you
craftable and collectible.
Yes, exactly. Right on. But since we want to hunt for secrets, just like anyone else, you're also going to want to know that, hey, there's something way over there.
Players with disabilities still want to have challenge.
It's not about just making an easy mode.
So what happened there was
Consacrer du temps à faire ça,
so you pressed into a wall and it automatically vaulted.
c'est super.
I feel happy about this.
This is an example
Immense
of actually
respect.
the good part of the studio culture, which is self-empowered, that I think allowed us to do this crazy thing, this thing that, you know, I couldn't tell you if it makes business sense to some degree, but it was something we were passionate about and interested in. It was a way we saw we could make the game better. It was something we saw we could like push the frontiers of, and we went with it.
Le jeu a été réfléchi pour pouvoir être joué par des personnes aveugles. C'est super.
Kind of initiative.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that early success really helped to.
Il faudrait que tous les jeux aient ça, sans déconner. Hein.
Shielding everybody from the cost, from the budget of these decisions helps them focus on their discipline. Don't worry about money, worry about making the best game possible. Trust that there are people at the top that are looking at the budget and considering that.
At a certain point in the project, we start offering dinners to the team. And it's kind of like an acknowledgement of like, okay, there's a lot of hard work to get it done. And we know people are probably going to want to be staying late.
Pour l'aider à coder quelque chose. Ah
Now we are
mince.
crunching.
Tu rattraperas. Ils parlaient de l'accessibilité de leur jeu et
This is crunch.
ils ont fait un truc que je trouve incroyable. C'est avoir une personne aveugle pourrait. Enfin, tu verras. Mais c'est vachement bien.
I'm
just felt it for months that this release date is not realistic with how big the game
Ah oui,
is.
c'était prévu hiver 2019 et il est sorti juin 2020.
People were asking us, is this a real date? Because it's not feeling like a real date anymore. So we felt like we had to react pretty soon. And then at some point it just felt like because people were starting to put in longer hours, it wouldn't have been fair to not figure this stuff out sooner than later.
Et ils ont décalé de 6 mois.
We're never gonna finish this game.
If you work hard for longer, that could have a toll on you. We tell everybody, pace yourselves. It's like, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. We settled on a February release date. Leave some gas in the tank.
J'avais pas vu.
Right now we are
Juin
dancing a very intricate and dangerous dance. We have something like 6 months left to finish the game. And we are also showing a demo to the press. The longest playable demo we've ever done. 2 separate levels of the game. A level towards the beginning of the game where you play with Dina on patrol outside of Jackson. And then the second part of the demo is in a level that's super duper challenging.
Ellie by herself, murder mode.
So what we're doing for the press in 9 weeks is really those 2 levels of the game. It's unlikely that we're going to need to touch them again. That was really the only kind of demo that we could do at this point that would still help further our production goals as well as give us this like marketing boost that we need.
The more we talked about it, the more we convinced ourselves, okay, this would actually be a good time to just put up a trailer.
Building these 2 major demos and a trailer next to the rest of the fucking game.
And it felt impossible early on. It's the thing that's always hard for us to polish. You review these things and we're looking at all these tiny details. It's like, even that shot of Jackson is like, where should the trees be? How much fog should it be? How much sun should it be? How should the sun hit the clouds? How we get all these civilians, the kids, do they have the proper gear? Are they wearing the right clothes? Is the tractor leaving tracks on the ground? That kind of crazy detail can only come through all these departments coming together and rising this occasion to achieve that kind of level of quality. We wanted to show the team the final trailer.
Before we show you the trailer, just to say thank you to everyone, where we jumped from doing a 3-hour demo to this trailer where we had almost nothing, and it's like pretty amazing what we can do when we all come together. In fact, it's so amazing you can forget, and I've been here for a long time and I can forget. So to remind you, and maybe reignite some of that panic, we're going to show you 2 trailers. One from exactly a month ago, and one from about an hour ago when we wrapped up the trailer. So enjoy.
Who decided to join us? All right, you all know the drill.
Tina, where are you?
Oui, c'était pas fini.
You think I'd let you do this on your own?
Cette phrase qui n'est que dans le trailer. Elle n'existe pas dans le jeu.
Keep in mind, this is what the whole game's going to look like. We're going to make it this awesome.
You can't stop this.
This was a good reminder. Look, when we come together, when we rise to the occasion, when we do this thing that people outside the studio talk about, like this Naughty Dog magic, this is what it looks like. So when you look at parts of the game that aren't there yet, know that we could get there in a pretty short period of time when we're so focused.
C'était les mains de Joël ou les mains d'Ellie de Jessie, je veux dire.
We got the trailer done. We're back to it.
Puisqu'on sait qu'ils avaient triché là-dessus.
I want to take this moment to run through the events of Outbreak Week, which is when the trailer is going to debut. We are going to be having the big press event in Koreatown at this giant warehouse. We're actually having 80 journalists from all over the world come. We made sure very
Boston Coffee.
3 hours.
Excellent.
Outbreak Day is the day the outbreak happened in the United States in 2013.
In real life, we celebrate September 26th as Last of Us Day.
Est-ce qu'ils font encore le jour de l'épidémie depuis le Covid? C'est pas sûr.
For Last of Us fans.
When people play these two sections, which are very different, I hope and I feel that both of them are equally impressive. When you play that first demo, you're like, that was incredible.
Oh my god.
This could have been the whole demo. This could have been the whole thing. It says enough about what the game is. And then you play the other half, and it's like way more mechanics heavy, way more combat heavy.
Keep going, boy.
Je reconnais bien ce long chapitre. Par contre, il vise vachement mieux que moi.
Level of how Naughty Dog is perceived as a company, it's that we're story first and mechanics second.
Bah plus maintenant.
A lot of it is, I think, proving to the press and proving to people that yes, we can do both.
I want to be able to walk away and say, this is the best controlling, this is the best feeling third-person shooter.
It's on the level of the best action stealth games you've ever played.
So one of the things that I've always found really exciting about The Last of Us is the kind of fidelity with which we represent human intelligence.
One of the ways that really helped make them feel more human and more alive was the way that they use their body language to communicate.
C'est vrai que c'est plutôt bien fait, ouais. La façon dont ils te contournent.
We had a number of sessions where the animation team, design team, and programmers all got together and we acted out a number of scenarios. And what that does is it gives us really great reference and touch points that we can always look back to about the way that we naturally behave, the way we naturally respond to each other. And those are the types of details that we want to weave
Le
back
fait qu'ils disent les prénoms des corps qu'ils trouvent aussi. Voilà.
Who the fuck's out there? Sweep the whole goddamn street.
Our NPCs are named so that you understand these people have relationships.
They want to get revenge on you. It's this little mini loop of the whole premise of the
plus
game.
impliqué, enfin ça fait vraiment plus groupe.
I just killed their friend and they want to kill me now.
There's a cost. You killed that person. His friend now feels a loss. You know, his dog is now alone.
Oh, le petit gémissement et tout.
Dogs are really difficult to start off with because they're quadrupeds. They just don't turn around. They kind of like wheel around a little bit.
Smell something, girl?
The main concern we had is
Ah, voilà, je voulais voir le chien avec la tenue de mocap. Je l'avais dit que je voulais.
the motion capture set. And
Mais il est
when we
trop
finally
mignon,
brought
il est
them
trop
on
beau.
set, it was just incredible what these dogs were capable of doing and what the trainers were able to accomplish in a short time.
There you go.
They move extremely quickly. So they're super hard to shoot. They are very low to the ground. You have like these attacks that are designed to go up here, and now you have to kind of do them down there.
Killing a dog has gotten people more like upset than anything else in the game, than hanging people, than eviscerating people.
Oui, c'est vrai.
Ground in dog murder.
C'est vrai, c'est mon cas aussi.
We had like a new scripter start like 2 months ago.
Mais il est trop beau.
I have one question. Does the dog survive? And everyone's like, oh, well, first day, first day, first day, first day.
Mais voilà, y a pas que moi. J'aime pas cette scène.
And then you have to love it knowing that it's already.
Oui, c'est ça qui est ignoble, c'est ça qui est horrible.
Hey, Al, you want to go to the trucks? Let's go to the trucks.
With the
Bande
notable
d'enfoirés.
exception of Alice, we took great pains to ensure that every combat encounter that you fight against a dog, you do not have to kill any of them.
C'est vrai, tu peux ne pas le faire.
It's more palatable to kill people because they're all there because they choose to be there, but all of these dogs were trained to do this exact thing, and so you're killing an innocent creature.
Fuck's that? Fuck! Fuck!
Got you.
That feeling of discomfort, it's exactly what we're trying
Ah
to
bah ils y arrivent
with
bien,
The Last of Us.
les pignoufs.
Ironically, making them more realistic makes people feel more okay about killing them.
Ouais, ça je peux le comprendre, ouais.
Kind of a goofy art prototype. We had like just a very rough dog. We found that goofy dog that had no fur, people felt really bad about killing that dog. Like when you would shoot them, they would fall over dead and like give one last whine as their like dying breath and stuff. So we just really tried to like tone down the pitiability of all the dogs and stuff.
C'est des chiens, ils sont forcément attachants. En fait, j'aime tous les animaux, donc.
The best sound in most games are the stuff you don't notice. The Foley in the game is extremely detailed.
Ah, excellent. Ça, c'est pour la ferme.
Things like Foley are very easy to get wrong and noticed for the wrong reason. Very difficult to get right. But when you get it right, no one's going to pat you on the back for it.
C'est injuste, mais c'est vrai.
Audio guys are kind of a different breed. We listen to everything all the time. It's kind of a curse. Our ability to use pre-recorded assets from a library that's like commercially available has been diminished almost entirely because we have very specific needs.
Ouais, donc ils doivent les faire eux-mêmes. Oh, il est bien son cri.
We're trying to take what we did in the first game and bring it to another level of detail.
C'est probablement parce que le sound design de The Last of Us 2 est incroyable, qui m'a autant choqué dans Life is Strange.
Have had to go through a review process. In the first game, they're pretty coarse. They're basically like on or off. They're either walking around mumbling, or they're freaking out trying to get you. And so now we've developed sort of this like murmuration breath system that allows them to have a much more natural flow between being agitated and not.
Ce petit bruit de qu'il a entendu un truc.
A big part of those recording sessions is working with the voice actors. It's much more collaborative.
Voix d'un coureur.
Yeah, that's cool. I kind of want to see what your more natural voice sounds like.
You're basically trying to coach people that they're not zombies.
Yeah, now imagine sprinting.
No,
oh yeah, cool, dude. Man. Yeah, take your time, man.
That's great. Really great.
One of the folks that we worked with, the sounds he was able to generate from himself was unlike anything I've ever heard before.
Il est doué, lui.
Gnarly sounding roars and breaths and wheezes and really interesting stuff that I've never heard come out of a person ever. Sound is, we're inherently post-production on a lot of this stuff. We kind of just have to be jamming and we have to be as prepared as possible, and that's what we try to do. A lot of stuff is yet to come for us, which means there's not a lot of time left, which means that it's going to get really intense. It gets really intense for everybody, but for audio in particular, we'll be here late.
Il le fait méga bien, avec sa voix naturelle et tout, impressionnant.
I think that, I don't know if it's the whole studio, but I know I'm definitely feeling very tired right now.
Toujours à crunch à la fin.
A little burned out. I'm realizing that I can't crunch like I used to. I can't put everything I have into these games as much as I was able to when I first got here. It's pretty unanimous that this game is really big, where it's bigger than we'd like it to be.
The Last of Us Part 1 is small compared to this game. My argument, make the game small again. I don't even call them small.
Tu vois, s'il devait y avoir un 3 et qu'il est un peu plus court que le 2, c'est pas grave.
Neil kept saying, stop, you have to like give it to somebody else, we will hire somebody, we will make this work. And I was like, I think it'll just be, I was just bullishly like, we're gonna handle it, I'm tough. I would like somebody to teach me how to have work-life balance.
There are some times where I wish I had somebody in production or a big brother that could be like, no, go home. This is great. This is already great. You don't need to do the next thing.
I feel like at any given point, you'll go into the kitchen and you'll find people, what I would say, salaning about the game, like going deep philosophy and what's working, what isn't. People criticizing this or that, this doesn't look good, I don't like this scene, this doesn't work for me, I hate this.
You know, like they're going to lunch and like expressing doubt to each other and like, is this going to come together? Is this the one that like screws Naughty Dog up? Let me just exude whatever confidence I have left. Let me try to bestow this person with it so they can feel inspired and go off and do their work. But then sometimes you're alone in the office and you're like, what if this doesn't come together? What if this is the one that sucks? What if this is the one that thinks Naughty Dog?
T'es obligé de te poser cette
then
question.
You have to like kind of bury it, compartmentalize it. Who knows what damage it does to your body while you're doing that? Because ultimately, you can't let that fear dictate how you work. And just keep the faith.
Eh ben oui, forcément.
The game was just about done, was content complete. We were fixing bugs when
there's these like rumblings of this pandemic happening.
Like I remember when this COVID shit hit and we're like, bro, really? Like for real pandemic?
You know, at first it feels like, oh, this is nothing we need to worry about. And then all of a sudden you do have to worry about it.
And like, are people gonna want to play a game that takes place in a pandemic when there's a real pandemic?
Ouais, c'est vrai que tu peux te poser des questions du coup.
We had never worked from home ever. Naughty Dog was actually strictly against working from home.
We did not have the infrastructure set up at the studio to work from home.
And it's because we were so intense about security and leaks that all of our data, including our emails and our chats and IMs, it all had to be on a server inside the building. We were like air gapped from the outside world.
The operations team, the IT team, our engineering team, they all had to coordinate in a very short period of time to get us working from home. We don't even know when the game can come out.
Sony was like, we don't know if we can physically ship this product with like the supply chain and stuff.
We had to come out and say, the game can't come out on this date, and we don't even know when it will come out. It's delayed indefinitely. So a lot of our most hardcore fans are angry with us. Around the same exact time, we started having these leaks. We're like, we didn't put out this video. Like, where is this coming from? It's a video from one of our reviews, so you could hear the notes, and people that can't attend the meeting can watch it after the fact. We store all these videos on our
Quand
server.
t'es une boîte comme ça, avoir des leaks, ça doit te rendre malade.
Inside, someone with a Naughty Dog.
My first thought was, this isn't like a developer leaking this, isn't it? This isn't someone on the team.
It's this person in the Netherlands downloaded terabytes of videos through a back door in the server. And then this is where we made a fatal error. Let's close this back door. And then this person put out everything. A video goes up on YouTube. I don't remember what the first video was, but it was something relatively benign.
But they weren't like super important scenes. You know, they were like little clips, and it was like, okay, that's a little weird. What is that?
All out of order and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's bad.
And you kind of wanted to just say, stop, wait, don't don't watch it. Like, you're gonna ruin things for yourself.
There's YouTubers I've watched for years, and they're making entire videos, and the title is like, fuck Naughty Dog. And fuck The Last of Us Part 2.
There's just all this negativity and no positivity because no one has played the game. They just have these videos out of context and all these rumors mixed with them. Abby is playable.
They thought Abby was trans because she has muscles.
Here's the ending if they kill Ellie.
And then it just turns this whole political thing.
Putain, le bordel. Tu vois, c'est là où je suis content de faire comme je fais moi.
They just posted Joel's death.
C'est-à-dire, je ne regarde pas les
I can't
leaks.
even describe this feeling. It's just this like dread. It's almost like you just heard someone you care about died. I don't know, that's the closest I could come to. I thought Troy would be looking at that and be like, you see, you were wrong.
He said, do you think we did the right thing? And I said, I don't know, Neil. I haven't played the game yet. I was livid. I was really...
J'ai pas regardé les leaks de GTA 6.
Bombarded with hundreds of negative comments.
J'ai pas regardé le Terra leak de Pokémon.
Anti-Semitic comments.
Ça m'intéresse pas, ça me gâche le jeu.
There's some stupid stuff that's like, you're a feminazi, you're whatever shit like that. But it's like, some stuff was really like, you know, disturbing.
The hatred, I think, that was behind it. I was sad. Like, there were a lot of days where I would just
Déjà,
cry.
je regarde même pas les bandes annonces d'un jeu quand j'ai vu un teaser et que je sais que je l'achète.
Threats of violence, and the worst of it, the really like hardcore death threats got passed along, and they, you know, made sure that they weren't anyone that like lived close by.
Ah, mais ça, par contre, les gens sont trop cons aussi. T'as tué Joël, on va t'attaquer dans la vraie vie.
Threatening my son, you know,
Putain.
who was born during all of it.
Pas de cerveau, les gens.
Yeah, it was rough. It was rough. But, you know,
C'est ça qu'ils évoquaient dans le générique
More
de
than
fin dans la
anything,
version
just kind of
commentée en fait.
it kind of like taught me to kind of keep a distance, you know?
This thing that I spent 4.5 years on, it's kind of getting violated.
And then for 2 months before release, there's like nothing you can do. You can't release the game sooner because it's not done yet.
Je me souviens pas du tout des leaks, mais j'avais pas dû les regarder, je pense. Je savais que j'achèterais le jeu, donc j'avais dû ne pas les regarder. Et bah tant mieux, pour moi. Je me souviens d'une totale découverte, je savais pas que Joël mourait quand j'ai fait le jeu la première fois, je le savais pas. Je l'ai découvert.
Like, why am I... Why, this is... It's too much. And I barely squeaked by.
Donc message à tout le monde, ne regardez pas les leaks d'un jeu que vous comptez acheter.
And, you know, we sent it to reviewers, and reviews are through the roof. And I called Troy, and I said, like, dude, I'm sorry. I feel like I failed you. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, yeah, I just know how some people talk. He's like, oh, dude, I don't care. I played the game, and I love it. And I got really emotional. It's like I realized how much I care about Troy caring about the game, and that was a huge sense of relief.
There's not a single aspect of the game, part 2, that I would change. And anytime someone comes up to me and says, you know, I didn't really like what they did to Joel. I was like,
forcément,
great,
mais ça sert l'histoire.
Tell me a better version of the story. And to this day, they still can't.
It was a traumatic experience for myself and many people on the team, and the kind of hate we got because of those leaks will stay with me forever. And I can't even describe how angry I was of what the damage this person did to us. I want them punished in every sort of way. I wanted this to be this villain. And this person is like, you know, in their 20s or whatever. They live with their parents. And it's a fan. And then when we delayed the game indefinitely, this is what they said, is like, I wanted to force Naughty Dog's hand. I wanted to force them to release the game.
Mais
so I thought if I just put all the videos,
ça va rien accélérer, au contraire, ça peut retarder.
And I remember sitting there.
Qui pense comme ça?
Sitting in my anger. And then go like slowing down and just saying, okay, if anybody should take the lesson from Last of Us Part 2,
ouais, pour le coup,
probably be us.
vu le sujet développé, c'est pas
Just
fou.
let it go.
Ah, par contre, les gens sont trop cons. Bon, c'est pas nouveau, mais quand même. Excellent.
We got Eddie Vedder to play Future Days for the Game Awards. I'm a huge Pearl Jam fan. Yeah, I know, so shocking to many people.
What a fascinating way to tell a story. It's just getting better and better all the time, and I really appreciate the way that Future Days was used, especially bringing Joel and Ellie together, connecting through music. It was cool to be part of it, so thanks for having me, and enjoy the rest of the show.
How lucky am I? Like, how cool is this? This person that I've admired since I was a kid is now, like, mentioning this game that we all made. And then we start winning award after award after award. I wanted that validation for the team.
Everyone at Naughty Dog, I can't wait to hug and high five and get drunk with each one of you. That's gonna have to wait till next year. And more than anything, and I know that I speak for the whole team when I say this, we'd like to thank our friends and family that stood by us and supported us throughout us making this game. You inspire us not only to make better, more meaningful games, but to improve how we make games.
Voilà, juin 2020 a sorti. Date de cet enregistrement-là. Ah oui, 2023. Il y a un an et demi.
Health and mental health. Are we developers that are going to stay at the studio and have full careers? How do we make this sustainable?
I chuckle in retrospect, just how absurd the failure of trying to alleviate crunch was. If you have great processes and you're super organized, that doesn't fix crunch. What that does is it allows you to make a bigger game.
We read the post-mortem feedback for The Last of Us 2, and it was really, really upsetting to see what coworkers had gone through. So we were highly motivated to try to figure out how to fix it.
Everything about our workflows were already being upended with remote work and everything, so it's like, okay, well, yeah, we got to do this now.
And we knew that to make the real changes we did, it would take the entire studio working together.
We now have the goal for Naughty Dog to eliminate crunch.
The only thing that fixes crunch, the only thing is just
Je me demande si c'est possible de ne pas faire de
When we
crunch.
onboard people, we tell them,
Honnêtement.
we have a reputation as a studio for crunching.
Parce que quand tu sais que t'as plus beaucoup de jours,
and it's something we're not going
tu
to
veux
do
peaufiner à fond.
First, we had to do what is crunch. Let's define it, because when you just look at hours, that turn out to be too simplistic.
It's a multitude of factors. It's not just like one thing. It's not just, oh, because of this is what's causing crunch.
Vu que t'es obligé d'avoir une date.
Like so many of these little things.
Alors, faut que
How do we
tu
make
donnes la
sure
date
no one at
quand
Naughty
c'est
Dog
fini.
burns out?
You know, every couple of months, we send out a 90-second questionnaire that goes, are you worried about your workload? Are you worried about having to work overtime? If you feel like I'm overburdened with work, you have to tell somebody. We used to, as a studio, when we were getting close to shipping a game, bring in dinners for the whole studio. We don't do crunch dinners anymore.
Being able to work from home is hugely helpful for me, from my mental health. Of like, you know, my daughter's there, my wife is there.
Hybrid is really the sweet spot because I think the benefits have just been enormous.
In the past, our leads, our managers, were the people that were best at their craft, but not necessarily the best managers.
So we created the role of principal.
We really gave people the choice, like, do you want to make stuff, or do you want to lead and manage?
And Arnaldo is now a lead designer here.
Now I'm responsible for a team, and I really enjoy that. And being able to share that knowledge and kind of work with someone, even if they're more experienced than me, and it's been great so far.
We have a very large and robust production department now that we didn't have.
Holding us accountable when we make a decision, when it's just everyone going, yes, more, yes, better, yes, polish, 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 tallying that up and going, okay, well, this is the result. Now you're not in your ship date anymore.
It feels so much like a different studio.
I hope that we can keep changing for the better and make sure that we're making the games that we want to make, that we're really passionate about, that we don't stop doing that.
We want self-driven, healthy designers.
Yes,
we want to have it all. We want to have it both. And can we do that? That'll be the question, I guess.
On verra bien. Ah, ils vont parler un peu de la série.
The HBO's thing has been a wild ride.
J'espère que ça va pas se faire striker ce truc.
I just wanted it to be like good. Like, dude, if it just comes out and it's a good show, like that's gonna be huge.
I'm sure it will be very different when I actually see Abby.
On l'a pas encore vu.
That will be so weird. I can't imagine what Ashley and Troy must be feeling.
Bah ouais.
Specifically because Ellie is a part of my heart. In some ways, it was really hard. I feel like Bella was the only person who could play her. Because I feel like she is Ellie. There's a part of me that's like...
Elle lui ressemble pas physiquement, mais par contre... Elle est... C'est une Ellie parfaite dans le rôle.
Like we found Joel. I was like, he wasn't missing. He goes, Pedro Pascal. And I went,
lui, il est
bulletproof.
It felt like Craig and Neil together saw that this was a story about humanity, and they made it a story about humanity.
We got Frank. Who knew that
Cet
was
épisode est
Craig's screaming from the sidelines going, I did.
When Neil and Craig asked me to play Ellie's mother, Anna, it made me so happy. And I'm crying, so it doesn't seem like it. But
putain, j'ai même pas réalisé.
So many ways to me. Being able to sort of bring Ellie into the world.
Ah mais ouais, mais carrément. C'est génial. Ashley Johnson, elle jouait la mère d'Ellie de la... Incroyable, j'avais même pas tilté.
It felt like on the other side, we could get this story to people that will never play a video game.
Putain, c'est trop bien ça.
My mom is watching the show, and like, she can enjoy this story, and she can be a part of it, and she's so excited I'm working on season 2 and getting to see that.
I love this idea that someone could watch the show and then realize, wait, that's based on a video game? And come back and check out the game and realize, oh, there's like all these rich games, AAA, indie, and all sorts of stories that are really unique to this medium. I did some other interview where someone asked me about The Last of Us and would there be any more stories or something, and I mentioned, like, you know, we have written a story that takes place after Last of Us 2 that stars Tommy.
Jusque-là,
and
c'est
I hope
pas
one day we
étonnant,
get to
mais...
make it. And the headlines across the industry were like, Naughty Dog has outlined Last of Us Part 3. And that's actually wrong.
C'est pas ce
It
qu'il a
was
dit,
always
non,
a
non.
small story. It was never like a full title. At the time, we had higher priorities at Naughty Dog. Was like to fix our pipeline, to fix work-life balance issues. Just based on where we were, I didn't want to prioritize this story, so that story was shelved. And I still believe one day it will see the light of day. I don't know if it'll be a game or a show, TBD.
C'est ça, ils peuvent le... Ils peuvent utiliser cette petite histoire dans un épisode de la série, puis voilà quoi.
The pursuit of justice at any cost. Justice for the ones you love. It felt like, oh, there's a clean concept here, and there's a through line from the first game about love. If we never get to do it again, this is a fine ending point. And,
Ils peuvent.
Right, last bite of the apple, the story's done. The great thing about working at Naughty Dog is that we don't have to.
Ils peuvent, mais ils peuvent aussi faire un truc.
But if you guys feel like we're passionate about something else, we'll support this other thing. very privileged position to be in. I never take that for granted. I've been just thinking about, okay, is there a concept there? And for now years, I haven't been able to find that concept. But recently that's changed. And I don't have a story, but I do have that concept that to me is as exciting as 1, as exciting as 2, is its own thing, and yet has this through line for all 3. So it does feel like there's probably one more chapter to the story.
Ça, c'est assez puissant pour penser qu'il y a eu du taf sur un 3, c'est sûr. Après, est-ce que derrière, ça sera exploité en tel quel? Après, moi, je pense encore plus en voyant cette phrase qu'il y aura un 3. Mais voilà, c'est pareil, ils ont bossé sur un autre jeu, là, ils sont en train de bosser sur un autre jeu, là, qui est le truc spatial. Ils vont prendre leur temps, c'est pas grave. Si le jeu sort dans X années, mais qu'il est très bien écrit, voilà. Bon bah voilà, on a fini. 2h10, sachant qu'on a regardé le truc au début. Ouais, on est plus proche de la vraie durée, là. Le making of de Maxino, oh là là, il y a rien à dire. Et ben voilà. Bon, c'est bon, hein, c'est juste le générique. On va s'arrêter là. C'était super intéressant, super cool. J'ai adoré. J'espère que ça vous a intéressé aussi. Et bah écoutez, nous avons fini. Voilà. Bon, ça c'est la bande-annonce de ce qu'on vient de voir. Et le reste, c'est podcast en anglais et c'est de l'audio. Ça m'intéresserait aussi, mais j'ai jamais eu la motive de les écouter pour l'instant. On verra bien. Je vais pas traîner parce que s'il y a des gens qui veulent regarder la VOD... ça sera bien d'avoir une durée cohérente. Je regarde un petit peu les petits trucs comme ça parce que ouais, je les avais déjà en partie regardés, mais voilà, le skin d'Abby le moins ressemblant à Abby, enfin le moins ressemblant à la Abby qu'on connaît, c'est celui-là. Hein. Rouge à lèvres, grosse boucle d'oreille, chaîne, machin, mais c'est marrant d'avoir cette version-là, tu vois. Tac. Et il y a sûrement d'autres trucs que j'ai pas débloqués encore. Je vois même pas ce que c'est. C'est un poulet. Ça, et je me souviens que hors stream, j'avais débloqué 2-3 trucs. Galerie de miniatures, je crois. Ouais, voilà, j'avais regardé en détail certaines miniatures de personnages, de trucs. Et la Ellie d'anniversaire, la Ellie de l'épilogue. La Abby de la fin, Joël et Ellie à l'hôpital, le mouvement des cheveux et tout. On peut zoomer Tony à la ferme pour voir un peu comment il était amoché. Il y a même Alice. Gigi. Et évidemment Monsieur Chewing-Gum. Parce que quand même, un truc pareil, c'était pas mal de le regarder aussi. Bref, je digresse. Je m'arrête là, merci d'avoir suivi. Ben, on a terminé notre saga The Last of Us sur la chaîne, c'est fini. Je précise maintenant du coup que déjà je vais désinstaller le vent. Que demain après-midi normalement j'attaque le chapitre 2 de Life is Strange Double Exposure, voilà. On continuera le chapitre 2 parce que le chapitre 1, bah, j'ai pris tout mon temps, mais il se finit sur un truc où tu as très envie de savoir ce qui va se passer derrière. Donc je ferai ça normalement demain après-midi. Voilà. Je vous remercie d'avoir suivi ce live. Je vous dis à demain après-midi si tout va bien, que j'ai pas un changement d'horaire ou un truc pas prévu, mais c'est censé être le cas. Passez tous une bonne soirée. Merci d'avoir suivi. Ciao. Ciao.